Thank you for joining us for our conversation today. This is the AI Innovation Launchpad, and this is our second bootcamp session where we'll be digging deeper into AI for market and customer identification. So, welcome everyone, and wishing you a very fruitful and good learning journey for today. So majorly, I think, as I've mentioned, today we'll majorly dive into how can you use AI for your marketing activities, and we'll have a presentation from one of our partners, Dalberg Research, and then after that, we'll have a conversation in our breakout sessions to better understand, with the understanding on the case, how do you see it fashioning in your business, and then we'll be able to wrap up today's conversation and have a chat on the next steps. I think before we start, it's also good to mention that this program is actually hosted by the GDC with Practical Action and Bob Pink as key partners and funded through UK-AID. And it's UK-AID partners that then allow us to be able to support you and to bring the kind of conversations we're going to have today. So as we start, or maybe before we start, let's have a little reflection on our last session, which we heavily discussed about sales agent training and assistance. And I think by now you've been able to receive an email and encouraging you to actually be able to set up one-on-one sessions with the team from Azure Labs who took us from on the session. So please don't forget to plan your free session with Azure Labs to better explore how AI could help you support your agents better. And there's a link that you can use to be able to plan the session. And I think if you've not been able to access the link yet, we'll actually be able to share it with you. And now, as we jump into today's conversation, for purposes of all the new participants we have in the call, I would like to request you to utilize the chat to also briefly introduce yourself as well as introduce the company. We won't be doing the personal introductions today at this stage, just to ensure that we stick to time. And we also allow our partners from Dalberg enough time to actually be able to do their presentation. So please utilize the chat to actually be able to introduce yourself as well as introduce your company. Yes, and now to jump into today's use case, that is marketing and customer identification. And ideally is to be able to understand how can you use AI as a last mile distributor to identify high potential areas from a marketing perspective, to think through your marketing strategies, and actually to be able to roll out your marketing strategies. So to be able to do this, there are different ways that AI can be able to support you from a marketing perspective. The first one, as I've mentioned, is AI can be utilized to help you identify high potential areas a bit faster because you're able to read through the data a little bit faster and come up with a better understanding to help you prioritize your new regions, prioritize your customer segments, as well as plan your routes for more optimal performance by your marketing and also your sales team. The other bit is due to the capability of AI tools, they can actually help you to better profile your customers, better understand your customers' behaviors, better understand their purchasing powers, their demographics, and all these will actually contribute towards a better understanding of your customers and having granular and more detailed understanding of who you are serving. What do they like? What are their behaviors like? How do they change from season to season? And all that. And that comes together to help enable you to have better product targeting as well as generate very actionable insights. Then the other part, of course, all this you're doing as a last mile distributor so that you can improve your quality of decision making to ensure that your decision making is more data driven and heavily informed by insights that you've been able to pick from the different data sets you have from a marketing perspective, and also automate the different operational dashboards that you have within your operations. So ideally, this is all AI can be used to help you then base your marketing conversations on real evidence and real data and not just your intuition or your feeling of the market that you're trying to serve. So how does this fit into the broader plan that we have for the Launchpad? Number one, same as our last call, today we'll specifically want to understand how this use case can be used to serve your business or can be used to serve you better as a last mile distributor, and also find out specifically within the marketing arena, what kind of problems are you experiencing, what kind of problems is AI able to solve, and which ones are we not able to address using AI. And then it's from these conversations that then they'll also be able to inform how you will respond to the call for applications that will be opened in mid-November for piloting of AI use cases. So utilize this call to actually be able to identify is the marketing AI use case sensible to you to be able to run a pilot when you do a comparison with the sales use case that we discussed last time. And then, of course, after you've been able to select the pilots that will be supported, then in between Jan and April, you will actually be supported to roll out your pilot, either within the marketing component, if that's what you have chosen. So that's largely the whole aim of our conversation today. And as we proceed, I would like to actually have a small, a brief session that we want to hear from you through Mentimeter. So there's a Mentimeter link that has been shared in the chat by Johan. And I'd like actually you to share with us what data do you base your decisions on when choosing a new market to expand to. So look at the different, maybe the different times you've been able to carry out market expansion activities. What data or what insights did you base your decision on? So I think it can take 1 or 2 minutes to actually be able to share our perspective on this. And then I'll also be able to display our results. So what data or insights do you base your decision on when choosing a new market to expand to? That's the question. Please share your feedback. So the link has been posted in the chat. Jasper, I hope you're able to access it.
It asks for a code when I click on the link.
No, I think it should take you directly.
It's strange, but let me share the code just in case.
Just in case, yeah. Have you all been able to access?
Ambrose, maybe you can.
Yeah, any results that are coming in.
Maybe you can share your screen of the Mentimeter, Ambrose. Then there's a QR code, and then there's a code as well. So it'll make it easier for people to join.
Let me see. Yeah, let me share my screen. I started seeing some responses coming in. So I hope you can see my screen. So what data or insights do you base your decision on when choosing a new market to expand to? I see someone has said purchasing power, competition, consumer density. There's my own knowledge, so that's your understanding of the kind of market you're trying to expand to. Someone has mentioned market size, someone has mentioned the need, the logistics network, and the distribution channels that are already established. The application, income, I'm guessing it's income levels of the market you're targeting and the potential customers. Safety in the area or safety in the market, as well as the location, customer interaction, purchasing power. I think we have responses from 4 people so far. So I'll give you another 1 minute so that we have a bit more responses, then we proceed. What data or insights do you base your decision on when choosing a new market to expand to? Let's have your responses. 5 people. Let me see. Customer interaction. Okay. Purchasing power. Okay. Okay, we have 6 people. Let me see. Again, purchasing power, distribution cost. Okay. So I don't know whether there's anyone who wants to, especially for someone who has mentioned the need, and those who have also mentioned the purchasing power or the distribution cost, or generally anyone within the cohort. Would you like to share maybe perspective on the response you've been able to provide? Feel free to unmute and just be able to share. Let me see. Sarah from Green at Mind. Would you be open to share? Yes, sir. Please proceed. I think your mic was on, then you muted again. Or Kelechi from Salfa. Kelechi from Salfa.
Okay, good morning from Nigeria. Can you hear me, please? Please confirm that
Yes,
you can hear.
we can hear you.
Thank you so much. My name is Kelechi. I'm the head human resource for Safa Energy. All right. For us in Nigeria, of course, if we're considering market expansion, right, we are an energy company. So part of what we'll be looking at, of course, is the market's size or business viability, right? How viable is the chances of entering into a particular location. So as an energy company, specifically solar energy, we'll be looking at if the market size is there, right? If the people living in a certain location or a certain state are deprived of energy, which is a core thing for us, right? As an organization that we want to provide energy freedom. So part of the things we'll be looking at if the occupants of a certain location, right, are energy deprived. So that's where we would want to come in and then solve that problem for them. So the market size, of course, put in another words, right, is part of what will be forming our decision. And then by extension, we also want to grow our business in a location that we know our inventories are not at risk, right? So the level of security we have in such a location could also form part of our decision for coming into that location or expanding our business into that location. So just in summary, yeah, these are the key two factors that we'll be looking at. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Kelechi, for that. Johan, I can see your hand is up.
Yeah, I could just ask a short follow-up question. Like, I'm curious, where do you source that data from? Is that data that you have internally available? Do you get that from an online database? Like, how do you get access to those kind of data points? That one's for you, Kelechi.
So I think either Kelechi or anyone from Salfa can take it.
Say that again, please. Yes, say that again. Let me understand your question. You're asking where we get our data, right?
Yeah, where do you source the data from? Is the data that you have internally available? Is that data that you get from an online database? Like, if you go to new areas, how do you get the data from those areas that you base your decisions on?
So it is widely known, right, that this is not to bring Africa down, right? We're energy deprived in Africa in general, right? And even locations where we have availability of this energy, they are not clean. So we're an advocate of clean energy. So of course the market is there for us, right? The data over 80% of Nigerians are energy deprived. So that forms a good data for us to move into locations, right? So of course the market is there. It's just for us to tap the potentials.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Johan, for that follow-up. I think we can definitely keep the conversation ongoing when we transition to the Q&A session, as well as also when we are having our breakout session. So at this juncture, allow me to bring in Dr. Jasper from Dalberg to now be able to share with us, at least on their side, the kind of work they've been able to do to actually be able to produce data points and utilize data points when it comes to enabling startups and companies to make marketing and also customer decisions. So over to you, Jasper.
Fantastic. Thank you, everyone. And thanks for making time. Thanks for showing up. And thanks for sharing those insights. My name is Jasper. I'm the managing director of Dalberg Research, and we're going to show you a bit of where your data could in the future come from and where it comes from in a much more granular level. So outlined already in the introductions was that GDC members have previously identified market and customer identification as a key obstacle to success, and that it's really hard to do that well and find them. And yet there's a real value in it. If you are starting to roll out, then picking prime opportunity areas for initial rollout with high potential, high conversion rates can generate the cash and the momentum to subsequently work on smaller and smaller markets. And those niche markets together in themselves are often of a significant size as well. So if we don't know where they are and if we don't address them, then we're leaving money on the table. In addition to that, not just knowing like, oh, there's a blob of opportunity in the northeast of the capital city. It helps to know how large that blob is in real life for it to right size your team. So how do I know how many sales or outreach officers I need to bring to a certain area that it is the right size for the team to effectively target these markets? And then knowing which products to pitch in different areas. Many of you have products that are at different levels for different levels of income. And it is important that you not pitch everything to everyone, but that you pitch what is the right thing to the right person. So in that sense, you also need to know a little bit more about the specific place where you are when you knock at that door, or when you are at that local market, or when you are at that local mainstream where the stall is being set up. Now, unfortunately, AI is not fantastic at these geographic, on telling you where. Anyone who's tried AI on Draw Me a Map has had many hilarious results to bring out. And this is because map have these unique characteristics of things that are very specific and very strict, and other parts that are very creative. Now, I asked two popular tools about a map, in this case for West Africa, that shows where to sell my superior solar home systems. Gemini was very persistent. I reframed the prompt a few times, and Gemini always gave me the map on the left and said, this is our detailed map of West Africa where you should sell your solar home systems. So you can see we're lacking some detail here. And ChatGPT has this interesting thing of drawing you into a rabbit hole. Before I answer your question, I have 15 follow-up questions for you. Please answer for me. And you answer the 15 follow-up questions, and it will generate another, I kid you not, 52 follow-up questions. And then it starts to throw out some longitudes and latitudes where I said, for example, here would be a good place, or that might also be a good place. But it doesn't give you a comprehensive picture, and you can see that the amount of information you have to work with is a bit difficult. Now, luckily, we've gotten a little bit further in our own work. So the way that many of you just described on how you find your data is we try to understand as well as possible your product, and we even focus in very quickly on the minute differences that you have in those products. We define the data drivers for those, either from your own data or from ours, run the spatial analysis, and AI and human intelligence together finds the insights. Now, under the hood, there's quite a bit of AI. We have a lot of data sets. So in our database, LOCAN, short for location analytics, we have 100 billion data points. These have to be structured by humans. AI is not yet able to organize them in a meaningful way. But then there's a number of AI modules that are here. So a lot of data sets are AI powered. You might look at a satellite image, and then an AI-driven object detection says, and this is a building, and that is a building, and here is a building. So you get a map of buildings, or of trees, or of electrification and other things. And all these data sets then need to be interpreted again by a human. Data sets that we have integrated, many of them are hidden in other data sets, and so we are using increasingly AI to find the right data sets beyond the ones that are the obvious ones. This also has to do with finding the right ones that add meaningful information by not correlating with existing data sets. Then integrating this data. Once you have 4,000 layers of data, or even two, they don't necessarily overlay correctly on each other, and there's a lot of calculation work and other things that needs to happen into integrating them. And then you can use AI to run your own data against very large databases to give you much deeper insights on your products, to run AI-driven predictions. So this is, if my product were 20% cheaper, how would the shape of my market, how would my customer profile change? How would I have to reorganize my sales teams and the geographies that I cover to optimally serve the market and leave no money on the table? And then maps themselves are only a first step. They need to be interpreted, and we're slowly making steps. I mean, this last one is our weakest at this point, but we're slowly making steps to generating the insights rather than a human having to review all these things. But overall, we have to say that there is, in the geospatial world at the moment, a need for a lot of data, but then AI plus human intelligence. The AI standalone interaction does not yet work because the maps struggle to, or the engines struggle to identify what a pocket of opportunity is. They struggle to identify the interaction between different layers. And that's something that we'll probably see changing in the next 1 or 2 years. So this product in the next year will look very different. 2 years from now, it will look very different. Here's a very simplified version. We took an example of e-cooking because that's a map that we can freely throw around into the public domain, and it's somewhat adjacent. And for some of you, it is spot on what you do. In this case, you see a number of input variables on the left. This is not a complete set, but to show statistics on clean cooking axis. So a lot of this data is only available for Africa-wide from PDF-based reports. You use AI to extract it. On settlement type, so the green is the agricultural area, but yellow and other colors are different kinds of built-up areas. And then you have the electrification and the population distribution. And when you combine these layers, you get the map on the right. Now, let's zoom into that one a little bit. So on your left is West Africa, or a part of West Africa. You see Nigeria, Togo, Benin, and Ghana, or a part of Nigeria, and those three countries together. And you see that population density is a major determinant, so is income. We'll come to that. And on top, you can indeed see that this is a result of clean cooking axis, population distribution, settlement typology, and electricity axis. Now, if you have a slightly different solution, LPG on the right, then the electricity axis is no longer required, but you need road access because you need to continuously deliver gas to those areas. And you can see the difference between these two models. So the two of them require entirely different business setups, and we can map that out. And sometimes it means if your product is more affordable or more logistically eased, then the map will change substantially. Now let's zoom into a local level here. We're now no longer in West Africa. We're in Mbarara, which is the second largest town since 2014 about. It is the second largest town in Uganda and has overtaken places like Jinja and others. And here you see at the local level, the opportunity map just blank and how different it is for an LPG versus an e-cooking. So knowing your product and knowing very specifically what happens is an important setting. Now, not everybody has the same ability to pay. In this case, this is an overlay of the LPG map. Strongly, in this case, we've assumed a very high transportability of the solution. There are others that will not reach out as far into more remote areas. But here you can see that the dark green dots have a relatively much higher ability to pay than the yellow, orange, or red parts that have still a need for clean cooking, but would not have the same ability to pay and to serve. And you can see that especially the dark red areas are also often in areas that will be expensive to serve with logistics. So typically what would happen if you scale up your dark green and green areas, you're most likely to serve with your existing business model. Your yellow, you will have to tweak a little bit. And for orange and red, you might sometimes get additional funding from funders who want to reach these hard to reach markets, because in a commercial way, these are much harder to achieve. Now here is the local overlay again, and now with the socioeconomics, Mbarara and surroundings is relatively richer than some other parts of Uganda, hence the higher ability to pay. And now you can see something interesting, that the market for LPG probably is much larger than it is for e-cooking, because I can go much better for transport in between. And then I want to show you this map here, which shows you Mbarara probably has for this e-cooking about 40,000 households that are suitable for this. But I have a number of smaller places here that have between 15 and 30,000 households viable. And of all the households that are in this map that are not in Mbarara town, there are still 68,000 potential customers. So if I focus only on the city, I only capture 40% of the market. But to capture these other markets efficiently without my people running all over the place to all kinds of non-suitable houses, I will need to know where exactly these places are. And I will need to be very intentional and very detailed in, okay, now I have a sales rep who covers the southeastern corner of this in every even week of the month or of the year, and the northeastern corner in every uneven week of the month. And then I have another sales rep who covers, so that I have a plan on how to continuously reach, or we reach them one after another, depending how continuously you need to be there. But the kind of data that you just described is available at a very specific level with a very high accuracy that allows you to plan your rollout very efficiently, and therefore A, not leave money off the table, and B, work with fewer sales reps for the system that you are organizing. So these opportunity maps, they help you to understand the total market size and where market opportunities are concentrated. So you can pick your focus area for fast success, and then you can ensure after that the comprehensive coverage where you're going from place to place and finding each pocket. Now, this is also very useful when you are considering expanding into a new country that you might not be active in, or a new state if you are in one part of your country and you go to another state or province or county, to understand, to prepare for that and scope for that, and know how much capital you need to have and what you can expect in return from that region. And you can make your choice. Okay, do I go in with a few people into the highest potential areas? I see what my conversion rate is, and then I right size my team for the niche markets. Or do I try some of the niche market first to see whether I can be faster than the competition? Because the competition typically focuses on the larger pockets of opportunity, and maybe I am the player who is more nimble and therefore can operate first in the harder to reach areas and harder to serve areas. And therefore I will have them all to myself without competition, while in the main towns, the competition is piling up. You right size your team for the size of the opportunity. It also allows you to set for your teams meaningful targets. This is how many households there are. I expect you to knock on 10% of these doors this year. I expect you on those 10% to make a certain number of conversions. So here's a fair sales target that works for both of us. It is a data-driven sales target that reflects the opportunities that are on the ground, and doesn't cause this kind of setting where sales managers or outreach officers or others just try to get the best possible areas with the most opportunity, and then they wait for the phone calls for orders to come in, but where they really have to work in proportionate effort to the size of the opportunity. So you optimize the use of your team time also. Your teams out there will be able to better target the right household, so they will have a higher conversion rate and more success experiences. And it helps you to understand adjacent market potential. So again, this is when you say, oh, if my product were 20% cheaper, if I were able to buy in large bulk and therefore get 20% less, how much larger would my market be? How many more people could I serve? Does that market have roughly the same shape, or do very different places pop up? And then where you can explore with your team key insights on where to focus with which products and why. So a high payment area like our dark greens here, you can probably come with a relatively more advanced product. In our case, there are also electric rice cookers and more advanced infrared cooking devices that you can probably set in there, or more integrated solar home systems that allow more different applications. If you go to a yellow area or some light green or yellow, then you're probably looking at a slightly lower end application. I recently saw a story in one of your newsletters where a user described that they always thought that their customers preferred Pico applications, so your handheld torch and other things, but only once they were able to offer solar home systems at a competitive price did their whole client portfolio switch. Suddenly everyone wanted those solar home systems. So it wasn't the preference for Pico systems, it was the preference for affordable systems. And our analysis can see these kind of tipping points and help you to understand where to head. So you get concrete advice on areas that might also be saturated or underserved, and you get on reassigning staff and resources for maximum impact. Now, this is the quick show. I will hand over to my colleague Ray, who will give you a more dynamic image. We didn't run this fully as a demo only because running through this amount of information in 20 minutes while just clicking between maps, it's harder to convey the story. But Ray and his colleagues have prepared a nice glimpse of what we're doing. Over to you, Ray. Thank you.
Thank you, Jasper. And good afternoon, good morning, everyone. And thank you for taking us through the nice introductory slides and setting the base for the demo. I'll quickly share my screen and then we can begin with the demo. All right. So to produce market intelligence as in the presentation that has been shared by Dr. Jasper, we use location data from many different sources to understand where opportunities exist. At Locan, we have created a geodatabase with a wide range of datasets spanning from different themes and various use cases. Here, you can see the catalog of our repository. It brings together over 3,000 records of data from population to roads, energy access, and markets, all organized in one place. These datasets are the foundation of the location insights we build, and some of which have been shared by Dr. Jasper. An example of a use case is our renewable energy dashboard. It helps users see which areas across Africa have strong potential for renewable energy. A partner who wants to invest in or expand in renewable energy can quickly see where biggest opportunities are. Now, let's move to a more practical case. And in this case, we'll be looking at clean cooking as previously introduced. In this session, we'll walk you through how Locan uses AI-enhanced data and mapping to help identify where clean cooking products are most needed and who are the potential customers might be. While today's example focuses on clean cooking, the same process works for other sectors like solar or agriculture. To assess clean cooking stability, first step, we understand where the need is. We look at the current clean cooking access rates to find communities that could benefit the most. These profiles bring together key factors. We look at the clean cooking access rate to find communities that could benefit the most. Next, we want to build the clean cooking profiles. These profiles bring together key factors, and these factors include fuel type, how often they are used, where the population live in urban or rural areas, and how easy it is to reach them. So to build these profiles, we'll need different data sets. First, we need the settlement typology. And settlement typology, this is an AI-developed data clustering people where they live, that is cities, towns, or villages, so that we can tailor solutions to local needs. Population distribution is also another data set. And here we want to focus on areas with enough households close together to support viable business operation. The next data set that we did consider is electric access. And brighter areas at night usually mean better access to electricity, a good sign of e-cooking products as an indicator. Also, road access is another data set that we do consider, because cooking fuels and products must reach customers easily. We focus on households within 2 kilometers of usable roads. When we combine these layers, we start to see where different solutions fit. For example, urban electrified towns are better suited for electric cooking, while peri-urban or rural areas close to road are ideal for LPG distribution. Once we know where clean cooking is suitable, we then estimate how big the opportunity is. So here we look at various data sets to estimate the size of opportunity. We look at how many households live in an area, their income, and that is ability to pay, and how close they are to roads or markets. By combining these data sets, we can estimate the number of households that are both ready and able to adopt clean cooking solutions. And this would be your addressable markets. Moving from continental view down to the local level, our analysis can include the buildings layer that helps identify specific addressable households. This layer uses AI to detect building footprints from satellite images, giving us a clear picture of where people actually live. With this information, field agents can pinpoint real households and plan their route more effectively. In conclusion, in short, you have just seen how Locan turn complex data into simple, actionable insights, helping members know where the opportunities are, who the customers are, and how to reach them effectively. And as part of the GDC AI Innovative Launchpad, our main focus today is on market expansion analysis value, helping you size your market, spot new opportunities, and plan smarter expansion. Thank you.
Great. Thanks so much, Dr. Jasper and Ray, for both the presentation and the interactive demo. I think super insightful, and I think really nice to see how you can, on the one hand, leverage really large data sets, but on the other hand, also narrow it down to something that's quite a practical output, and you can really base decisions on. So before we move into the breakout, we have some time for Q&A. So I'm curious to hear if there's any question from the group towards the Dalberg team. And then, if you have any question, feel free to unmute. If you're not able to, feel free to drop your question in the chat as well, and we can also address it. So I'll just open it up to the floor for any questions.
Okay, can I be heard?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, my name is Ifeanyi from Safa Energy. Having heard the last speaker from what he said on expansion and then opening up new market opportunities, I want to know how you will address a proper situation whereby you have literacy level very low and you have high risk of insecurity. How do you approach such situations in terms of your market expansion and your customer identification?
Thank you for that question. So the first one on the conflict areas, it is for every organization to decide which level of insecurity they're comfortable with. So we have data on the level of insecurity, and we map conflict areas also because our other part of the business is a primary research company that continuously has people in the field. And we often have to tell our clients that we're not like soldiers, and we can't go to active conflict areas where our enumerators might be shot or things like that, or abducted. And so sometimes we have to exclude certain areas. Now, there are specialized research companies who specialize only on those areas, and they operate in a very different way. So this, on the conflict, it is something that you will have to determine for yourself the level that you're comfortable with. It is possible to exclude certain areas of conflict, and there's conflict-driven data from this, or you can just say, well, just exclude those markets for me because I'm not comfortable in them. On the literacy is an interesting one. I mean, this one, this tool is for you to set out the strategy, and the advice and the outcomes are for anyone out there in the field for you. It doesn't sell the product for you. So however you interact with your customer at this point will also be how you'll still interact with the customer after using this tool. You just know that they're there or not. And what we can do for you is also let you know which areas have a high literacy rate and which have a low literacy rate at a specific level. And so with that, you can adjust your strategy accordingly. Unfortunately, we can't solve it as the tool does not teach reading.
All right, thank you.
Good. Any other questions from the group? I'll give you a couple of seconds to think it through. If you can't unmute, feel free to drop your question in the chat as well. All right, if there's no more questions, I think we can move on. If any question pops up while we proceed, we're going to go into the breakout groups. So feel free to ask your question there as well, or share it in the chat. Yeah, just like last time, what we'd like to do is we'd like to break out into two a little bit smaller groups and have a bit of an interactive discussion with all of you. As you know, after the AI bootcamp is over in December, we'll be looking at the different implementation tracks. The call for applications will open in a couple of weeks after we had the third session. And so we're also very curious to know from your end what your needs are regarding market and customer identification. And based on what you saw today, how that could potentially solve problems in your business. So this doesn't mean that, I know we have 3 different use cases. It doesn't mean that you're going to proceed necessarily with this one, but it would be very interesting to know from everybody that's in this room, how relevant do you think this use case is and what specific problems would it solve for your business? And then maybe from there we can look at, okay, what does that mean in terms of what kind of data, do you need, what kind of gaps do you see in your business where you need to have more data visibility, and we can start to think through a little bit, the use case in a little bit more detail. And we'll also use your input to really craft, let's say, a support package or really scope the assignment for next year so that it really meets your needs as well, and it's really a tailored kind of solution for you. So we can take about 20 minutes to talk a little bit more about the challenge. So we can talk about how you're currently leveraging data or how you're currently making decisions to expand into new markets and what data that's based on. And once we have a clear understanding of that, we can start to imagine a little bit more how Dalberg Research solution could help you solve that problem. I see there's one more question in the chat. Maybe we can just answer that one question from Gerwin. What main benefits have your previous clients reported to you, such as reduced time and cost spent and market research or better informed decision? Who would like to take that question?
Yeah. No, I can easily answer that. So I think the main point is that those who were about to embark on an aggressive rollout, so those who've recently raised some funding to reach a lot more people or to go to more regions or more countries, have said that we've helped them massively, saved them a lot of time and money first in the strategy setting, in the right sizing the teams and sending out people. They said if we had sent them out based on our gut feeling or without your information, we would have gone to a lot more places that turned out not to be very beneficial, and we wouldn't have had as much of a success rate to identify the places where we have a high conversion rate. Now, for the field forces on the ground, not every company has the ability to actually steer their field forces with that level of detail. But for those who were, the more local pathways saved them a lot of travel time between places, because you could, they try to typically go to the high likelihood conversions in a lot of places and travel relatively long in between. And we found out that it's actually much more useful for them to spend more time in one place and then have an intentional itinerary on where to go in between. And developing that itinerary based on your gut feeling is a bit difficult. But based on something like this, where you say on Monday you do this, on Tuesday this, on Wednesday that, has been very helpful for them to have more conversions because they spend less time in between places and more time actually talking to customers. So those are two items that really helped. There's a third one. Sometimes we have these customers who come to us and say, well, we want to expand to 3 more countries. We send our proposal to the board, and the board said, we're not yet quite sure. So they come to us and say, in 2 weeks, can you give us a map of all these markets and everything so that we convince our board that this is useful? So it's more a process one, and we want to put in front of these decision makers, funders, a map that convinces them that that's a great idea. So that's more on a higher level interaction. I hope that answers the question.
For me, it does. Thanks, Jasper. I also hope for the other groups to have a better understanding of the benefits. I see a lot of potential with the tool, but the proof of the pudding is in the eating, and really seeing the results on the ground. Maybe another question for this group: would you be able to disclose names of previous customers you've worked with that have used the tool?
Yes. One of our very first customers we worked with is a company called SunCulture, one of the early people in solar irrigation pumps, and I believe also a GDC member. So that was a nice one. We've done ProGas was a very big one. So this was LPG, multiple countries, including Ethiopia, Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, others. Then a number of the last mile internet providers. So they are very similar to solar home systems, but have a slightly different problem with competition. So these are like Mawingu or POA. We have done work with M-Kopa on opportunity maps for different places. So those are a few of the names I can throw out there.
Nice. And I think definitely some familiar ones for the other GDC members. Good. Then if there's no more questions for now, I think we can open up the breakout groups. So make sure if you can activate the breakout groups, and then everybody else, you'll see a pop-up on your screen right now. Just click the blue join button, and then we'll see you in the group, and then we'll reconvene in about 25 minutes, so about 20 past. All right, welcome back to the plenary room, everyone. We'll just give everybody a second to join back in. Let's see, I see people are still dropping in. Waiting for the last two. Yes, and I think with that we are complete. So welcome back, everyone. I hope you had a good discussion in the breakout session. Before we wrap up, maybe you can just briefly hear what has been discussed in each session. Ambrose, would you like to give a very brief summary of your discussion? Curious to hear what came out of it.
Yeah, thank you. I think I'll try to summarize everything very briefly. And so from a challenge perspective, I think what was coming out strongly from our discussions is looking that LMDs are serving very diverse communities and regions from one side to another. There's number one, the aspect of most of the data is currently very disintegrated, and so the challenge is always not everyone in the company that has enough exposure on what are the different data points and how to access the data points. You can have control on that when it's internal data, but when it comes to external data, I think it's a challenge for most LMDs. And I think from a solutions perspective, then depending on how an LMD shapes their model in terms of the AI, this AI use case, they're able to address this, because then they're able to standardize the different data points and then see how to interact with them in a better manner. The other key aspect that came out is most of the conversation, I think we have been able to see what the solution is able to do from a demand side, and also telling you the kind of opportunity that is out there in the market. But something interesting that came out is, can it also play a role when it comes to actually understanding what does the supply look like in a market that you're targeting, in terms of, for example, I'm selling solar home systems. Can it help you to understand what kind of solar home systems are in a specific area, who are the suppliers in that area, and how does that dynamic look like, or that comes into play when you are figuring out your competition landscape and how to go around that. And I think what was interesting is that, yes, it's able to collect that data and actually also map that out and build a flow of the different cases in the area. But I think a key message was it's not a standalone tool, it's mainly a decision-making tool. So you have to embed all the other processes that come into play when it comes to pushing sales. Yes, it will give you the data insights, but at the end of the day, you still have to do the groundwork when it comes to converting sales and actually pushing your brand out there.
Great, thanks for sharing that, Ambrose. Yeah, I think from our side, well, if we talk about current practices and challenges, I think what we see also in the broader membership is that a lot of decisions are made based on physical presence, either of the company itself or of local partners, that understand the local market. However, what we also see is that sometimes there are challenges when it comes to that, and the reality might be quite different from what was understood purely based on that, let's say, that qualitative data that comes from local partners or from the local local office. And when we were talking about that, we were also talking about the importance of sales agents' behavior and how motivated they actually are to sell. So if you look at a very small level or at village level, the performance of sales agents can be quite different. And this is, of course, quite a big factor in understanding the motivation or the behavior of sales agents is a big factor in your overall performance in that market. And from there, what we understood is that what is also a very nice, let's say, small use case is to use local data to understand how big the market is, but really on like a more local or a village level. And based on that, you can also set more realistic targets for sales agents. So if two sales agents are operating in a completely different market and the data says that maybe in one market, the sales agent would be able to sell 3 times as much than in the other market, then you also have to set different targets for them. So you can use, let's say, the database and these maps to determine what is actually a realistic sales target for a sales agent. And does that mean, can we, based on that, say whether that sales agent is really motivated or not? So I thought that was a nice little use case that was being explored. We also talked more broadly about the topic of how is AI being leveraged in all of this, and what is the value add of AI. And basically, what we now understand is the more data-driven basically your organization is, the more value you can get out of AI. And we saw a nice example of that from Salva Energy, who's already started to build an internal data warehouse and is also going to use that for predicting demand in different areas based on the historical data that they have in house. So yeah, I think some different challenges and some different ideas explored there, and overall some really nice use cases explored in both the conversations. So I see we have 2 minutes on the clock left, so let me just wrap this up. First of all, I want to say a big thank you for the Dalberg team for joining us, for sharing their presentation, their insights, and the demo. We'll be sharing their contact details as well after this session. So if you have any follow-up questions, then feel free to ask that directly. And thanks to everybody else for joining, of course. Before we close, please make sure to accept the calendar invite for the next session, which will be on marketing and branding on the 20th of November. Just a quick reminder, you can also still book your one-on-one sessions with Adjua Labs. You can access the link in the chat, or we'll share slides afterwards that also contains the link here. And of course, later this month, we'll share the call for applications with you. And if you have any other general questions for us, then of course share that one. Then before we really say goodbye, please fill in the poll that is just popping up on your screen to give us feedback on the session. And once you've done that, feel free to jump off. And thanks very much for joining, and have a good rest of your day.